Oh yeah, crazy. Yeah.
You'll love the headline on the thing today.
Yes.
I was going to go with a very special Brad and Britt.
It's always a very special.
Someone either gets married or gets killed, right?
What happened on the Bobby Moynihan show? Did the kid not do his homework? Something pretty pressing like that, or was he being bullied at school? Did he have to give his kid the sex talk? Do you know?
Remember, I'm starting out the day minus $3,500 with Mark Hyman, so.
Oh yeah.
This is not. So be easy on me today.
Take it easy on me.
I'm minus 3,500.
As Little River Band once said, "Take it easy on me."
Hang on a second. I have to go outside for a minute. I spilled some coffee on myself this morning. I just noticed it was on my pan.
There's paper towels over in the green room.
I'm going to do it outside.
Oh, yeah, dude. All right. Take your pants off outside. It's not the first time I've said that. Uh-huh. Oh, I gotta start. Oh, I already started. Yeah, I hate it when I forget.
I sure wish I would have started the.
Oh, I'm already started on mine.
That's okay. These aren't actual coffee grounds. It's just now steam. I don't know how. You don't want to know. You don't want to know.
It may be time to throw those out. I mean, I hate to suggest. Oh no, they got
this is from this morning. This is from.
It'll wash right out.
I know.
It's fine.
No.
Throw them away. You're
I'm
done.
not gonna throw them away.
Throw them away.
They'll come out.
It's time to treat yourself to
I'll
some.
just pour cream on them.
Is that how you do it?
Holy shit.
I
sent a note, a conciliatory note to the CEO of Equifax. I said, I wish you well. I hope the $49 million that they're probably giving you.
Yeah.
To
well, he's retiring, so I'm happy that he's. I love how they spin that. Okay. I'm rolling. So, yeah.
The Brad and Britt cast. It's underway here. Hi, and we are so lucky. We are so fortunate today that Lil Rush has agreed to join us for the first segment here because of his vast knowledge, number one, of football. If you think you know anything about football,
You know nothing.
you know nothing.
You're an idiot.
He knows everything.
Bill Belichick, an idiot. Bill Parcells, an idiot. I understand the game of football in a way that no one else can, and that is why I'm here today. Greetings and salutations across the fruited plain to conversationalists of all ilk. 'Tis I, your lovable, squeezable, huggable, all everything Maha Lurashi, with half my brain tied behind my back to make it fair on the libs, having more fun than a human being should be alive. What, am I missing one? Did I get one of them? Did I get them all in there? Oh, on the cutting edge of societal evolution. I like to get them all in there because they're all just genius. Well, the NFL is dead. The National Football League, folks.
Can I ask you, how did you go from maybe the biggest booster of pro football 10, 15 years ago to now declaring it? What turned you? You were personal friends with the Rooneys.
I was, and now that's...
What happened?
They let the Negroes run the insane people run the asylum. That's what happened here, folks. This is just a predictable end to letting African Americans vote and participate in democracy and have jobs.
Well, just giving them citizenship, probably.
It was, I was on board with 3/5. If you were 3/5 of a person, I thought that was a great compromise. What's wrong with 60%? What's wrong with that? I mean, you're 60% of a person. Now this has happened, and now we had something wonderful. And the thing that is most disappointing to me, now that I think of it, I expect the African Americans to run around and be crazy and destroy shit. The billionaire white people running their teams, going along with this horse shit, that's what's really disturbing.
So you don't think they really, at any level, aren't just going along to get along, as they like to say?
Well, I mean, they're faking it, but they.
I guess maybe they are going along to get along.
Well, it's just, Massa would not have gone to these lengths many years ago, but now he is, and it's the golden goose is dead. You look at these networks like NBC and Fox and ESPN, and the multi-billion-dollar contracts, and they're just stuck, and they're just going to see the ratings go right down the twin.
It's like when American Idol, one year it started to go down, and they could never
recover.
Pull it out.
And never ever recover. And that's exactly what's happening right now. It's just dead.
You think Mr. and Mrs. America are just disgusted by the disrespect, and the new word seems to be these players are just not grateful for the country
they live in,
for the opportunities they have. If they lived anywhere else, they could not make the millions of dollars a year that they're making in the NFL, and they're not grateful. And what do? They spit on our flag.
That's right.
They hate our military.
That's right.
They hate our institutions. They're all Black Lives Matter radicals who, if you gave them a chance, if you could get people to look the other way, they'd be breaking windows on Main Street.
That's exactly
stealing TVs.
Looting 4K TVs, flat screen color televisions as quickly as you could possibly, and this is exactly what's happening. This is exactly what you're seeing. This is a great extension of the Black Panthers movement, Black Power.
What about the new Black Panthers movement? That's even better.
Even better. It's just,
they can stop white people from voting.
All of the hip-hop empowerment of the 80s and 90s, and now it's just all that we're asking is that you salute.
And when you say we, you speak
white America. I'm a white American.
Yeah.
All that we are asking is you show the flag the same respect as you would food stamps. That's all we have ever asked, and that is why we are so upset, and you guys are screwing it up.
These accusations that when Donald Trump went to Alabama last week and made that speech, that it was about race, and then he denied it, which I know you're on board with.
Absolutely.
It had nothing to do with race. It was just about respecting
That's
what makes America great, which
That's
is
right.
the flag.
That's exactly right. And then now I'm seeing all of these different people.
What about that freedom of speech thing? Does that apply here at all?
Freedom of speech is your freedom of speech to shut up and take your check and shut up. Those are the three things you should do. Shut up, take your check, and shut up. That's freedom of speech.
That's actually 2 plus 1. But
What did that hippie syphilis carrier Janis Joplin say? Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. That's exactly what. That's what one of those hippie anthems that
wasn't that what Trump said when he went to the Detroit area in front of a group of white people? And he was speaking over their heads to black people.
What the hell do you have to lose?
Exactly.
And now we've seen what he's done in trying to pull and push these black people forward. And they just resist, and now they've just destroyed the entire...
You give them stuff. And,
you do!
And I've heard you give this explanation before. The affirmative action idea is no more on display than in pro sports. Because how's the NBA 70% black? How is the NFL 70% black? It's obviously because they're doing jobs that, number one, white people refuse to do, right? And they have to have somebody out there on the field, and these rules that are now being set up that don't allow. And I like when Donald Trump put his fists together.
That was great.
And showed how great football used to be in your day.
That's right.
When you played at Camp Girardeau High, whatever the hell it was.
Camp Girardeau High, and it was fantastic.
But it was known as Camp Girardeau.
That's right, the home of the fighting assholes, and we were great. And we played football, and it made us men.
And you got brain injuries up the yin yang, and you loved it.
I loved it. It was what made the brain scars made me a man, and it's just disgusting to see what these people have. Now, some people have suggested that my belly aching on the subject has something to do with ESPN firing me 14, 15 years, whatever it was. And I can tell you, I do not carry grudges. I never.
That was when Donovan McNabb was playing quarterback, starting for the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's correct.
He had a couple good seasons,
That's
and
right.
then he had a few bad games. And you accused the media of covering for Donovan McNabb, having this desirous need for him to succeed because of their white guilt. And you said that you were the only one courageous enough to say that. ESPN said, pack your bags.
And that
get a cardboard box.
That
take
Tom Jackson guy,
Tom Jackson, right?
less than like an awful career with the Denver Broncos. They only kept him on because he was black. That's why he played 9 seasons or 10 or 11 in Denver. And now where is Tom Jackson? Where is Tom Jackson? Well, looks like he got fired by ESPN, so it did him no good to stand up to me, to Whitey, on that whole situation. What did he get it? It did nothing for him.
What about Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys in Monday Night Football? They tried to split the difference. They didn't kneel or sit down during the national anthem, but they did all stand together.
Oh, that was stupid.
Before the game.
That was a really dumb deal by Jerry Jones to get down there and lock hands with those
Do you think that the image of America's team now is forever sullied by that, again, uppity display?
There's an uppity, ungrateful display and again, this is the erosion that I hate. We used to have billionaire white people that would stick with us. They wouldn't go down there and they wouldn't cater to African. And he's touching people he never wanted to touch. I bet, I'm just going to say this, folks. When he came off the field after touching black people that worked for him, I bet he took one of those Karen Silkwood showers just to get everything off of him. I believe that. If I'm proven wrong, I will bigly apologize. But I believe that's what they did. Is they got in that stadium at AT&T Stadium.
All right, can we jump around a few other subjects?
They've got like a toxic thing where they can scrub the shit out of you and get the black germs off you. I think that's exactly what happened.
Let's go lightning round with a little rush.
Yes.
North Korea, how's the president handling it?
Perfect. No question. We're going to blow the shit out of them, and that's it's wonderful.
Excellent. Puerto Rico, no electricity, no water.
Who gives a shit? Bootstraps. Pull yourselves up, people. Go ahead.
All right. Healthcare legislation.
I'm glad you brought this up. Susan Collins is the ugliest looking woman in the... Somebody just beat the shit out of her with the ugly stick. I wouldn't fuck her with your dick, me pushing, and two other people watching. Forget it. Thanks a lot, Susan Collins, for everything you've done, ferret face, for the people. Good. And John, let me just say this about John McCain. Let me just say this. How do I split over this?
American hero?
Glad you got cancer. I mean, I think that's probably the easiest way that I could put that. And it's like a mite eating through that tiny brain of yours. And the only reason the Vietnamese gave you back is they realized you weren't worth a shit. Took them like 5 years to figure it out. Fuck this guy.
That's not quite the story.
Well, that's exactly what happened. They captured him. Here, take him back. This guy sucks.
Right.
All of you can blow me. This is a great repeal. It has totally made me non-homophobic about Lindsey Graham. He's on our side. He's a great guy. Bill Cassidy, who really normally I would say is a huge dude. God, and I'm so glad they got Rick Santorum back in the game. America needed Rick Santorum back in the game to write this bill. And, that's going to... But, Susan Collins, nobody would bang her. Lisa Murkowski, I don't think even on a drunken frat night. I mean, if they... It would just be... Ugh. I think if they put something in her drink and she passed out, they go, just throw her in a corner. I can't handle it. I believe that's what would happen. So
how's the Southern Compound doing? Did you sustain any serious damage during the hurricane?
We lost two.
Where you got on a plane and abandoned Florida?
Oh, that's not what happened at all. We lost 2 Mexicans. I'm still looking for them. If anybody sees them in Palm Beach County, let me know. But otherwise, I'm good. I mean, they're 2 of my gardeners, and they're 2 of my best ones. Jose or Juan or Alejandro. I don't know what their names are, but we've lost 2 of them, and I've got some serious rewards out for them, and I hope that they'll be found soon. But, fuck Puerto Rico. Seriously. Remember that time I went to the Dominican and I got caught with that Viagra that wasn't mine on the way back?
It was the Dominican Republic. It wasn't Puerto Rico.
No. It was terrible. Awful. The Dominican Republic is the way you've been there. It's wonderful. It's an amazing thing. It's a way to get the exotic African-American women that you want without having to pay a price. And then no one knows about it except I snuck back in with somebody else's Viagra. And then it's a huge story and they try to, the media just continues to try to nail me. But it's sad to see an
Have you read Hillary Clinton's book?
Hillary Clinton.
Like that setup?
I wouldn't read that in a million years. It's just bitchy bitcherton. This is it. This is the audiobook version of the Hillary Clinton book. That's it right there. I just played the audiobook version of the Hillary Clinton book for you. I hope you enjoyed it.
Little Rush, a very, very special appearance here. The transcript will be available later on our website.
Thank you.
It will not.
No, well, they were going to put it. Thank you, and God bless America.
All right. So, the Trump administration, the Republican Party is guilty of the one thing in business that will kill you every time. Ready?
Ready.
Over-promising and under-delivering.
Well,
because you're supposed to do the opposite. You're supposed to under-promise and over-deliver. And then you're a big success. Well, so they promised forever that they would repeal.
But the problem is, and this is true in Republican politics, they don't really want to repeal it. They just want to be able to demagogue it. But then they're in a position to actually do it, and oh shit, we have to actually do it. It's like with abortion. They don't really want to get rid of abortion. They just like demagoguing it forever and raising money off of it. Forever. And ever and ever and ever. But every time they've been...
Gee, what a great thing to swing over to. Now that they've done so well with health care and the great fair tax reform package that they're going to be presenting next week. I love it the way that they're already... Well, on Wednesday we're going to present our tax reform. Really? Really?
I can't wait.
It's unbelievable. But the obnoxiousness, the horridness of Trump's attack on John McCain, personal attacks. And again, we always have to circle back to what this is about just as much as the rise of Donald Trump, who didn't come out of a swamp from nowhere, right? But then he is the result. He is the result of republicanism all these years. And it's as if, because I watched for the first time, really, I admitted this the other day, I'd never watched The Nutty Professor before, but I finally watched it, and it was if all those beakers of chemicals in his lab.
Spilled
They
all
all spilled together, and this piece of shit emerged called Donald Trump. But it was your lab. It was your stuff.
Yeah.
It was kind of your idea. And
well, it's Fox News, it's Rush Limbaugh,
right,
all those things.
It's all those
things together.
And the timing was perfect, and Hillary and the email, I mean, it all happened. But remember, Friday night during, and by the way, there will be speeches in American history that are known just by a word or two. Ask not what you do done for your country. John F. Kennedy's inauguration.
They will live in infamy. The FDR.
Right. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Freedom. Right. The Gettysburg Address. and now.
Sons of bitches.
The Trump's famous
sons of bitches.
But during that speech, he attacked John McCain, and he got big applause for it. So I'm sorry.
Of course it did.
It's not just Donald Trump. It's the fact that we have a bunch of morons in this country who continue to follow him as he shoots people on Fifth Avenue on each side of the street over and over again, and they continue to cheer it. But the fact that he went after McCain personally again is, what am I going to say, beyond the pale with Donald Trump. Why bother? I mean, we're already there. Is bringing us to the brink of nuclear war by responding to a segment you saw on Fox News saying that they now have a rocket in Iran that can reach Israel, and it was a fake story.
It's a fake story.
He literally responded to fake news with a tweet, the kind of tweet that we all were saying, all of us were saying, a year and a half ago, as Trump came out of the swamp. He's the one that came out of the swamp. And we said, he can't keep tweeting like this when he's president. He could start a war.
Yeah, he can.
You know, World War I started on a mistake.
Yeah.
It does happen. But now he has weaponized that ability to make a mistake instantly. And it's literally happening. Mm-hmm. And we seem powerless to stop it. Nice job in general, founding fathers, but not a good job in terms of having an emergency brake. We have no emergency brake on this bus. We don't have a thing we can pull. We can't stop it.
Well, the founding fathers.
It's General
The founding
Madison.
fathers never could have seen it. We would have elected an idiot like this.
I know that.
It's out of control.
I know that, but and I thought it was kind of telling. There was a little moment there. You can go back and look at the tweets where, and we always know he's lying. We always know he's painting you into a corner and lying about a conversation he may have had with you and putting things into your mouth that you didn't say to try to help him. But he went out of his way to say that General Kelly was foursquare, 100% behind him on the whole NFL thing. And I will bet you everything I've ever made, will make, have saved, invested, times 50, that's a lie.
Of course it is.
That is a mischaracterization of whatever General Kelly was saying about this, because you know that everyone around him who has any sense of responsibility, and General Kelly does, even if he's getting steamrolled on shit, because Trump keeps taking out his phone and doing stupid things and saying stupid things. But you know that General Kelly was counseling restraint. A little bit of backing off.
Trying.
And so what does Trump do? Trump turns that into, he's behind me all the way.
CNN is fake news, just reported COS, Chief of Staff, John Kelly, was opposed to my stance on NFL players disrespecting flag, all caps, anthem, all caps, country, all caps. Total lie, exclamation point.
Total truth.
Next tweet, General John Kelly totally agrees with my stance. The word total is being used a lot, so that's how you know he's lying.
You know, completely, totally.
Total. No, it's total. It's General John Kelly totally agrees with my stance on NFL players and the fact that they should not be disrespecting our flag, all caps, or great country.
You know when I'll believe that? When General Kelly, in his own words, comes out and holds a press conference and says, I am totally with Donald Trump on this. And you'll notice no one has done that. No one. Except for morons they're able to find outside a Bank of America stadium in Charlotte before the game on Sunday.
Well, it should be.
They did find a few of those people.
It should be noted and understood that, like, the Panthers' response was probably the weakest of the entire
Pretty
team.
dreadful.
For Jerry Richardson just to be a complete pussy and not do anything, and then Julius Peppers was the only guy for the Panthers who stayed in the locker room, and everybody else stood up. So,
but I think if you pull back and
Whatever.
and again write the narrative in that Donald Trump is doing everything he can to divide the country against itself, to pit groups and ethnicities and religions, and now even football teams, not even leagues, but teams against themselves. When you look at the procession of stories about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you see what he's done to the Steelers because they have one guy on the team who had been in the military, and he was standing at attention for the national anthem on Sunday. He walked through the tunnel, and
he apologized for
that. He then apologized. And said it was an accident. He really didn't mean to get out that far, but he kind of got that far, and then he froze. He wasn't going to run back in. And
do you believe that?
He's
an honorable guy.
He's an honorable guy.
I'd say.
But the problem isn't do I believe it or not. The problem is that the circumstances existed for this kind of thing to happen. Because up until that weekend, I'm sure that he was looked at by other members of the Pittsburgh Steelers as an interesting cut above guy with experience that none of them had, and he was and Trump put people in a position. He split a team against itself.
I believe that.
That's the issue. It isn't about whether he was right or wrong to stand there, because we're not going to get into the.
Well, it's a terrible look. I mean, it's a terrible look. It looks bad because the guy's up there apologizing, and you shouldn't have to apologize for saluting the flag or not saluting. You shouldn't have to, but you're right. Trump created all of this. All of this was made into a political issue by him. They always say...
Which wasn't about race.
They always say it's about liberals. Liberals politicize. Fuck that. Every time it's about them. What coffee you drink, what store you shop at, all that shit always becomes political with these people. And they've got a guy now that's feeding that fire like it's never been fed before. And I bet you this weekend they're going to make sure he's going to tweet out, if the NASCAR numbers are up 1%, if one more person watches the fucking NASCAR race Monday morning, huge victory for me. NASCAR ratings way up. Yeah, you went from 2 people watching the race to 4. You doubled their audience. Congratulations, asshole. That part of it is driving me nuts, and I still feel like he's going to go to a race before the end of the year. I still feel like he'll show.
I'm not betting against you on that one.
Because
I'm not taking that.
He's really feeling his oats on this one. This is like the most important thing he's done in the first year of office. This is like by far he feels like he can ride this sumbitch right to the ground, like Slim Pickens and Dr. Strangelove. He's just going to ride this sumbitch all the way down. He's got one.
Well, I was just thinking. Why are you saying that? Since he, in addition to going after the players and starting this whole thing over standing or kneeling for the national anthem, he also, parallel track at the speech, went hard with there's just not enough good violence in the NFL anymore, and too many 15-yard penalties are being called on guys, and he put his fists together to show how great a tackle was. And then he accused the referee of throwing the flag so he could impress his wife watching at home on TV.
No, that's what you would do, asshole. That's how you would garner attention.
There's so many things just beyond
dreadfully wrong.
Beyond wrong with that. I would expect him to ultimately use his administration to do what they've done on climate change and other issues of environmental damage, which is time now to call off all research into CTE.
That's correct.
Because I don't believe in it.
You should outlaw it. Anybody who's doing it should be.
I don't. Do you believe in it? No, I don't believe in it.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to start with, I'm not a doctor. Because you have to start that every time with everything. I'm not a doctor. Like, if you go up to your house and your house is burned down, well, maybe it's burned down. I'm not a fireman. I don't know.
Do the people in Houston know about Hurricane Harvey? Well, they're not weather.
I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know. Like those people in Mexico City when the building was fucking falling down. I'm not an architect. Maybe it's not down. I don't know. I'm so tired of that. I can just every time they ask about, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not a blah, 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 blah. Shut up about that. I don't have to be an automobile engineer.
But I'm a healthcare expert, and I know Obamacare is the worst thing to ever happen to the country.
I don't have to be an automobile designer to know that I was in a wreck. Okay, I don't need to know that.
I got another great idea for Trump. I think he should put Puerto Rico on the list of countries that people are not allowed to come from. And of course, remember, Puerto Rico is part of the United States.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of Donald Trump, who I guarantee you, if you would have said to him a month ago, here's the question, phrase it this way, ready? Are Puerto Ricans Americans?
No, it's a foreign country.
They're Puerto Ricans.
I know many fine Puerto Ricans. There's some of my
Right.
good friends up in New York, Puerto
Right.
Rican.
Right.
Jennifer Lopez is a huge ass. I really admire it. But
And-
no, they're not American.
So, you know, today he's over tweeting in the other direction, and
But
the rest
it was
of
somewhat
Why did they make
appropriate.
Geraldo Rivera ambassador to Puerto Rico? Oh, we don't have an ambassador to Puerto Rico.
He-
It's part of the United
But
States.
I heard one of the people, one of the officials in Puerto Rico, like, why is he mentioning all this money that we owe to Wall Street and shit? What is that about? Because he tweets about this.
Because he brings up a grievance because he wants his base of white morons to know that
These
we're going
Negroes-
to help these people, but we really don't want to.
These
because
Negroes
then-
still owe us a lot of money. I haven't forgotten about that. I haven't forgotten. We're gonna help them out, but don't worry.
Here's the saddest part, not the saddest part.
One of.
But politically, I think is the saddest part of the story, and you won't hear this anywhere else. Without even I have an original thought every once in a while.
Once in a while.
Every few years, Puerto Rico has gone through a referendum. Do you want statehood or
Yeah.
not? And it always fails.
Yeah.
It always fails.
But come on in
And-
now. The water's fine.
Well, sadly, if they were a state, you can bet that the relationship
Yeah.
in a case like this
Sure.
would be different. It really would be.
But then we'd have to change the flag, be 51 stars, and I think that's disrespecting the flag by putting another star in there, so I can't go for it. And it would kind of depend on whether he supports Puerto Rican statehood or not, because if he supports it, then everybody would vote against it, and then vice versa. Because everybody's, you know,
Well, this is like buying insurance after your house burned down. It's not going to happen.
It's not gonna
But
happen.
when you think about it, remember how many times during the campaign or during Barack Obama's presidency, and I believe our old friend Neil Bortz used to bring this up, that Barack Obama grew up in Hawaii, which is not even a state. He would say it that way, even though it is, but he would say it that way.
culturally,
That- right. And so imagine if Puerto Rico were a state even right now, there would be resentment towards it. So maybe they're better off not being a state right now. I'm just trying to game this out.
I heard other people, like, they would say, well, he lived in Hawaii, then he lived in Chicago, he lived in New York, he lived in D.C. So these are all like statist, socialist
He's never
places.
been in
He's never been like in a, you know, like if he moved down to fucking Foley, Alabama, you know, and he hung out there for, then we might consider you to be a real American. Oh, well, what's the amount of time I have to live in fucking Foley, Alabama? 18 months, 2 years? When is the America going to seep into me? I'm just curious by these stupid rules that people put out there. One of the most egregious things about the entire NFL thing I found yesterday was when he retweeted the guy talking about Pat Tillman, the former Arizona Cardinal, Arizona
gotten
State Sun Devil.
flattened for this.
Oh, he
So
should have,
bad.
and it was stupid. So he retweeted some idiot bumpkin, mouth-breathing, booger-eating dumbass talking about, you're disrespecting Pat Tillman, and Pat Tillman would never go for this. And, of course, Pat Tillman's family, which has suffered greatly through, you know...
His widow.
His widow had to go, you know,
Jesus.
don't use Pat's image to divide this country. Don't do it. He was for self-expression no matter what. Now, of course,
He was an atheist.
He was all these things. I mean, my God.
So not only did he hate God,
There's a million things that was wrong. If you go back and you wrote about this on your Facebook page about how the Department of Defense fucked over the entire story and then made him into this war hero and made shit up, and he was killed
isn't it
by...
amazing how that kind of faded?
Oh,
into the
of course.
background?
They always make it go. I mean, but he was killed by friendly fire. That was the story. His family wasn't told that because we had to have the superhero story being made up of the war vet. And when they finally got him buried, you know, they had the ceremony and all this stuff, and finally all this information comes out. Pat Tillman was not a rah-rah, hey, look how great I am for being patriotic, hey, I'm going to wrap myself in the flag kind of guy. And for Donald Trump, by proxy, to use him as a shield for his bullshit is awful.
But this is so Trumpian.
It's so awful.
He rolls out bullshit, a lie, and it sticks and it works with enough people.
God.
Because remember, just because you know it, just because I know,
Of course.
just because you know that the Pat Tillman story is not as simple and fake patriotic as they would like to have right now on their behalf, Trump and company. The people who want that story to be that way, they're right in with it.
That's it. I love it.
They're right in, because
it's true.
Remember, we live in, by the way, that's just an alternative fact recitation of Pat Tillman,
right,
to say that he was killed by friendly fire, because I'm sure there are people who still don't believe that.
No, he was killed by friendly fire, and it's been proven. I mean, they lied about it. The Department of Defense a million times covered it up. You know what struck me? The line from the whole Vietnam series was when the one guy.
Have you watched the whole thing already? Holy shit!
I think I'm too short. I think I'm like 2 or 3 short.
We're through 3. Don't tell me how it ends.
I think I've seen 5.
Don't ruin it for me.
There's like one kid, I think he's from Pennsylvania, and he's talking about in the mid-'60s how he couldn't wait to go down to the recruitment office, sign up, go volunteer. And he said, we were the last kids of any generation to not question our government, to completely believe what our government said. And I was like, holy shit. You know, because they said, you need to go fight this, as the communists are going to go through here, and you need to go fight and sign up and do this. And I keep thinking about that. We were the last kids of any generation to just completely and totally trust with blind faith what our government said.
Well, he's speaking on behalf of himself. He's not speaking on behalf of everybody.
No, but there was a lot of people who did that. There were a lot of guys who believed in that.
The country was split.
It's no wonder you guys were so pissed in '68.
No, but the country was to say we were the last generation. Again, this is generalizing and throwing everybody into one pot. Who the fuck you think? You think the same generation wasn't out there protesting the war?
Well, that was
the same generation. This guy's speaking on behalf of his narrow view of the world. That he and the guys he ate lunch with at Johnsville High School in Minnesota. They were all on board.
I don't think in '65 it was that apparent that, oh my God, we're kind of being lied to and this is bullshit. I think it took a couple of years to see being like, man, they're really kind of fucking.
Oh, I understand, but then all these years later, don't say we were the last generation to think that.
I believe it. I believe it. Just like I believe Pat Tillman would tell these NFL players to go fuck themselves. Oh, what about the Jerry Jones thing? The Jerry Jones thing on Monday Night Football. What did you think of that? He locks arms with the players and they kneel before the anthem, then they rise for the anthem.
Well,
which is bullshit.
Well, if you asked what would you think of that a week ago if it were to happen, I'd say, well, it could never happen. So the bar is artificially raised that if you don't, during the anthem, either take a knee or sit down, you're not doing all you can to support the cause.
Well, guess who's claiming?
But believe me, it's still enough to elicit boos from assholes who go to NFL games. Apparently there was a lot of booing of that, and this was at the away stadium in Arizona. They weren't even playing this game in Dallas.
No, they weren't.
But
there's a lot of Dallas fans there. There are a lot of Cowboy fans.
Sadly, they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
They are
like
a
virus.
Like cockroaches and
herpes.
Ants. They're in every
They're
house.
Just there. They're everywhere.
But again, this is not at any level to absolve the NFL in general as a business, as an organization, the way they handle crisis situations, the way they handle domestic violence and all that. Right. This is not absolving them of that.
I agree.
But who put them in the position right now for all this to be a discussion point? It's Trump. It's just Trump.
Because he's bored or something. Well, no, he sees this as an issue that will play well with his people. That's what.
And it worked well to take people's minds off of nuclear war, the failing healthcare situation, his inability to realize what's going on in Puerto Rico.
That's correct.
And 12 other things from the famous, why aren't you talking about? Well, in this case, with Trump, it's always that way. Anytime you see him tweeting about nefarious bullshit, superficial garbage, it truly is, why aren't you talking about? And the answer is, number one, he lied about whatever it was he's caught in right now and can't get out of it, and so therefore the best way is to either avoid it or keep lying. Or number two, it's just about diverting and kicking the can down the road. Mm-hmm. This is all, but you can't. Instead, he's pushing this North Korean thing to the brink.
They said that they consider his words to be an act of war. The North Korean government. That's what they've said. Now I don't know if they're going to follow through with that because they're just as full of shit.
But they've shot down. Yeah. They've shot down planes before that weren't in their airspace, right. And so Trump is just hoping. I think he is hoping because he thinks, and I hate to go full Waggy the doggy on this one, but I think he's crazy enough to think that a full 100% war, nuclear or conventional, right now with North Korea will buy him some space around the scandals that former FBI Director Mueller will, and now Chief Prosecutor Mueller, he will just stop he'll just throw up his hands and say, well, we can't investigate a president in the middle of it. He believes that.
Do you see this?
I think he thinks that.
He tweeted out like last night, I guess this was, like 6.5 minutes of McCain talking about repeal and replace. He is so up McCain's ass right now. He's got like six minutes and plus of somebody cut this together of of McCain talking about repealing and replacing over the years. And he tweets a few of the mini clips of John McCain talking about repealing and replacing O-Care. My oh my, has he changed? Complete turnaround from years of talk.
You know what?
What an asshole!
It's not even.
It's like just when I think you've become the biggest asshole you are, you become a bigger asshole. There's a way for you to do it. This was the tweet from this morning. Ratings for NFL football way down, except before game starts, when people want to see whether our country will be disrespected.
They're not way down. They've been trending down for a couple years. And I'm telling you, and you know me, I'm a pretty good barometer of this. Mm-hmm. I literally am now more interested, and I watched more Sunday afternoon football this last week than I've watched in years.
It was Bizarro World on Sunday.
I don't know why. It's like everything else. If they tell you can't do it, you want to do it.
Well,
if you tell me I shouldn't watch NFL football,
I'm going to do it. That's
because
what I did.
Remember, I do have this 50-year reservoir of watching football. I just haven't been watching as much lately, but that's only out of doing other things.
I'm not not working on many Sundays, so I got up Sunday morning and I downloaded the Yahoo app on my Amazon Fire TV, and I'm watching the line game until it died.
That's the limit, because that was one of the worst games.
Well, after it turned awful. But I do like to see Baltimore get their face rubbed in it because they're a bunch of assholes. The booing at the NFL football game last night when the entire Dallas team dropped to its knees was loudest I have heard. Great anger. Donald John Trump. And he finished up with this one. But while Dallas dropped to its knees as a team, they all stood up for our national anthem. Big progress being made. We all love our country. So he claims it's victory. I'm making these people. I'm making them. I win. I've won. That's essentially what he's doing.
Apparently, he literally has never seen all the stock footage, the B-roll stuff of North Korea, of China, where there's always 50,000 people marching, standing together.
He loves that. He probably loves that.
Apparently, that's what he wants.
That's exactly what he wants.
And he would say he doesn't, but he does.
Well, of course he does. I mean, he's already talking about having like a parade with all the with the big dicks rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue or whatever. I mean,
well, the chances of that happening now compared to what they might have been a few weeks ago, I think have increased a lot. I think that's how he's going to try to keep going all in.
Stop it.
With
tanks and missiles and shit just marching through our streets in D.C. That's dreadful.
That's going to make our friends in South Korea feel that much more secure.
Well, but again, this is all done. It's all done because the 30% idiots love it. Like, they're going to stand up and jack off to that. They're going to think that's the greatest thing ever. They got tanks and planes and shit marching down Pennsylvania Avenue, right? I mean, the 30%, the Alabama crowd, the Mississippi crowd, the West Virginia crowd, the North Carolina crowd, they're going to think it's the greatest thing, right?
Yeah. Let's go back to John McCain.
Yes.
Because I think this is, I don't want to put it in a category of this is going to be the one thing that blah, blah. You know, I'm not going to do that because that's a fool's game. It never works out. But to dig in today,
he's all in.
And play old video of John McCain saying, you know, we're going to repeal and replace it.
Right, we have to,
we
6
have to
minutes of this shit.
As if that has any bearing, which it, by the way, has none, zero, to any kind of intelligent, objective observer as to what the legislation was that no one saw that was going to be proposed and signed off on by a bunch of Republican senators, most of whom, if you could really get them in a closed room where you said our conversation is going nowhere, would say, there's no fucking way we should be voting for this. They all know it's bad, but they're all falling in line. They're like those people in the Apple 1984 commercial. They're those people. And McCain is not one of those people for many reasons, if not at least one of them being he has, if you can call it the luxury of knowing he doesn't ever have to run for re-election again. And yeah, there are moments in John McCain's career where he did things where you would shake your head and say, he's a craven politician. But you know what? Very often it is the last thing you do in your career that will define you. Ask Anthony Weiner.
Yeah. Elizabeth Dole.
Ask Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
Ask all those people. You know, and I think part of what was ticking inside of John McCain these last few weeks was, I don't want to be the guy whose last major act might be voting to remove health care protection for tens of millions of Americans while I am getting the best care possible for my malady, whether it's going to kill me or not. That would be a terrible thing. That's a very basic look at it.
It is.
But I think that that's one of the
There's
things.
nothing wrong
And
with
by
that.
the way, nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
No.
That's a speck of humanity, Mr. Trump. That's what that's all about. Instead, you're out there beating on this guy as if he had some kind of obligation to get you a W. Oh, please.
And
I think the last time that McCain was associated with a W, didn't he say he was stuck watching a Diamondbacks game late at night?
that was the one when
Up
he was
late, and that's
was
why he made an
mobile,
excuse for why he fumbled the next game. So that's the only W.
No, but and he, one of the parts of that interview, which a lot of people saw, and I'm sure the president saw it because he watches this shit.
Just the 60 Minutes thing?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody, he watches this shit because he wants to see if somebody's going to talk about him. They said, how's the prognosis? And he goes, oh, it's not good. It's very poor. So most people, being human beings, would back off and go, oh, the guy's going to die. I won't hit him on social media, on Twitter, because, the cancer's not going on.
My thought was, I can't believe how good he looks.
Yeah, surprisingly.
He looks better now than he did a year or two ago. That gash over his that seems to have healed up very, very quickly. Or they did a good job at the CBS makeup department. That is network level makeup.
That's
so
right.
It's going to look good.
That's why Leslie Stahl looks like she's 45.
That's right.
And that's why they're still able to make that happen.
Exactly.
But most people.
But is that what you want on your tombstone, Mr. Trump? That you went after John McCain? And I know he doesn't care.
Just doesn't care.
But the unbelievable thing is that his core supporters, who under normal circumstances, normal meaning Donald Trump was never born, would be the largest, most vociferous group on behalf of saying that John McCain is a true American hero. They're willing to turn on John McCain and boo him when Donald Trump says that he didn't vote for my health care plan, the one that I don't even know anything about, that I kept promising I'd sign on day one when I got there into the Oval Office that didn't exist, and they cheer for him. Until you can square that circle, Britt, everything we talk about doesn't matter. Until he is soundly beaten at the ballot box, it's going to continue, and we can't seem to stop it. We have a system that does not allow us to stop it. We don't have a parliamentary system where an election can be forced to be called. Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
A vote of no confidence.
Now, he gets a vote of no confidence every week when the polls come out, because at best he's got 40%, he's got 60% against him. But polls don't decide who the president of the United States is. So
what about this Alabama election? Anything about that? Anything about Luther Strange versus Roy Moore?
Well, I'll tell you what, and since we're talking in the morning that these people go vote down there, I think the last thing I'm going to do is ascribe any real significance to what a subset of mouth-breathing, right-wing Confederate Republicans decide in a primary election for Senate that has been poisoned by the presence of, I didn't think you could say it, maybe the worst human being to ever walk the earth besides Donald Trump, Judge Roy Moore, the Ten Commandments whack job judge who's been kicked out of being Supreme Court.
He's not
justice.
crazy enough for Trump. I mean, Trump's campaigning for. I mean, that's the amazing thing is that Bannon is the Roy Moore guy.
Right,
Trump is the Luther Strange guy.
I'm not going to ascribe any kind of actual, what does this mean for the future, blah, blah, blah. It's like saying that the election in Georgia 2 months ago. Well, that really, nobody can even remember that now. It doesn't mean anything now. And this isn't going to mean anything either, except the broad view is that just like breaking up the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Dallas Cowboys, the NFL, Donald Trump has managed to completely, and he has done a fabulous job. I don't think we should congratulate him enough for completely breaking up the Republican Party and splitting it against itself. Now, the quick answer to that, here on the Hannity Show, is, well, it's the Democrats who are really, well, they're the ones living. Okay, fine. But the symbol coming out of the Alabama senatorial primary today is going to be a party divided against itself. Cannot stand. Except with Trump, you know, he won.
'Cause he's the best.
He's the best ever. He's so smart. He's a good businessman, you know. So the answer is I don't know. I don't know. And when you got all the people on one side and you got half of his cabinet on the other side, you know, who knows? And by the way, remember what the excuse will be? That just shows that Donald Trump is open to other ideas.
Shut up. That's not true. That is not true. That is such a... I would like to see him have a watch party at the White House on Sunday.
Can you imagine Barack Obama allowing people in his cabinet to...
Oh, yeah, campaign for another guy.
Campaign for...
They wouldn't that's stupid. They should. I want him to have a watch party with like Mark Meadows and some of the other really stupid congressmen and senators up at his house watching NASCAR on Sunday. Invite them over. We'll have some sodas. We'll have some cheese balls. We'll all watch NASCAR. Ugh.
This just in. The FBI is investigating and charging college basketball coaches for bribing players.
Oh,
who might that be?
Yeah, Roy Williams. You're done. Roy Williams, you're toast. Nice.
Emmanuel Richardson of Arizona.
Oh my God.
Is Lamont Evans of Oklahoma State, Chuck Person of Auburn, University of South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina got it?